Offem-oke, Bayelsa State, the home of President Goodluck Jonathan. And guess who we have here? Professor Aluko. Um, from activism to Mr. President's hometown. How did you get to this place?
Well, no, I mean, the university was started here, and a vice chancellor was needed, and I was approached. I accepted the position 3 years ago now, and here I am. But before I say that, I welcome you to Offem-oke. The pronunciation is Offem-oke in Ogbia local government of the of Bayelsa State, and as we say, Aloha.
Okay, hello. You've never told anyone the story of how you got this job. Was it a phone call from the president, or
No,
did you just lobby for it? You thought it's time for me to go home and retire?
No, I didn't lobby for it. Actually, the fact of the matter was that, I was involved in the campaign for the governorship of Fayemi in Ekiti State. And he had wanted me to work with him as Commissioner for Education, but I turned it down in October because, I was still lecturing at Howard University, and I wasn't really ready to come and join him in Ado-Ekiti. Then a month later, in November of 2010, I believe, there was this announcement that there were going to be new universities established in those states that did not have a university. And Ekiti was announced as one of the states. And in fact, during that November, the Executive Secretary of National Universities Commission and the then Minister of State, Mr. Gbagi, were in Ekiti State with the governor looking at sites for the universities. This was one of the many stops they had had. And they were in Ikole, Ekiti, when the governor called me from that side and said, look, they want to announce universities next week. Apparently, they had also indicated that they wanted to announce vice chancellors at the same time. And they were given the governors, I presume, the opportunity to choose some vice chancellors. So he called me and said, okay, well, you don't want to be commissioner. Will you accept to be vice chancellor of the new university in Ekiti? I said, well, this is sudden. Can I talk to my wife first? And so he gave me a week. And then I talked and I said, okay, fine. You just consider it. And he said I should send him my CV. So I sent him the CV, but this was in November. Yeah. By the time February came around, February of 2011, when the actual announcement was made, there had been a revision of minds, I presume in the presidency and the Federal Ministry of Education, that the vice chancellors should not come from the state in which they were. And of course, my own interest was to be vice chancellor of Ekiti State, and not that of any other state. And also because of the political climate and how it was, I just did not presume that I was still in the pot. Okay, but as the February came on, I started to hear that I was still being considered. And then I believe it was February, I don't remember exactly the date, I got a call. So I was in the US then. I got a call. I wake up very early. I got a call about 6 a.m. in Washington, D.C. time, which was 11 a.m. Nigerian time, that the Executive Secretary, Professor Aluko, wanted to speak with me. And when he called, actually a friend had already called to say that he was trying to get a hold of me, and that they said that they were going to announce my name as vice chancellor. I thought that guy was mad. But about 10 minutes later, Professor Aluko called and said I should speak with Professor Rukayat El-Rufai. And she said, would I consider being vice chancellor of Offem-oke University? and that where they were considering an honor for me to be there, and she mentioned that some funds had been raised for the university, and they hoped that I would accept to go. So I said, could you give me some time? I said, no, we have to announce it at the executive meeting. This was on a Wednesday. I remember very clearly. FEC meeting on a Wednesday, that they were going to announce it on that Wednesday. So this was 1 hour before the call was to be made. My wife was still asleep then, but by the time everybody woke up, it had been announced in Nigeria, and phone calls had been going around that it's going to Offem-oke. So that's really the story. Yeah.
The thing is, you've been a staunch critic of bad governance and maladministration.
Yeah.
And now, we would say you're part of the system.
Okay.
Have you come across any criticism?
Part of the maladministration, or part of
the government system so far?
I'm as a vice chancellor of a federal university, I'm a public servant. I'm in some ways a civil servant of a different kind, but part of the reason why I took the job is that, okay, yes, I've been critical in some respects of education, administration. Now I have an opportunity to do those, to
walk the talk.
To walk the talk. It will have been either insensitive or unreasonable not to take the job. But I know that there were challenges that were afoot for the job. But I've lived in a university environment all my life, and I think I was prepared for it.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but if I don't ask you this question, I won't be happy.
Sure.
How do you feel sitting with the present Minister of Education, Wike?
How?
Someone people just feel is
well, yeah, no. I mean, he's the Minister of State of Education. He has somebody. The person who chose him there has the right to choose him there. And if he believes that he's serving his purpose as a Minister of Education, fine. It is. I did not choose him there, but the person who chose him there still maintains him there. And I think that we should give him.
Sit in meetings and think like, oh my God, what am I doing here?
But there are times when I sit with my colleagues too. I say, oh, what am I doing here? So it could happen to anybody. I don't. Yeah.
We've gone around this campus, and when I was following you, one thing that just came to my mind is I could see the passion in you. You were describing every detail as if it's your child, it's your baby, and I was thinking, this is not Ekiti, this is this is Bayelsa.
But this is Nigeria, I mean.
And each time you wake up in this environment, what comes into your mind in terms of the university and?
Well, let me tell you. It is a unique situation to be the pioneer of any endeavor. So I'm the pioneer VC of the university, of the Federal University of Offem-oke. Nobody can take that away. If I even stop today, nobody can take that away. So it's a unique feeling. And I mean, when I came into this job, I had apprehension of safety for myself, Niger Delta, apprehension for concerns about whether I will be able to continue to maintain my family who are in the US, and then thirdly, the apprehension about whether I will be given the free hand to do the job that I was asked to do. Of course, you have to be safe. You have to live to be able to do the job. All of us eventually still have to be sure that our families are well taken care of before you can be happy to do the job. But thirdly, I know that there are people who are watching to see how I succeed. When I was announced, there was a lot of discussion on the net. Online, you shouldn't take the job. Betrayal, you should take the job. But all those concerns have been addressed. I don't feel particularly unsafe.
You were talking about at the point where ASU seems to have taken a step too far, you know.
Well, no, I mean, I think after they met the president, I think that a lot had been, a lot of give and take had been done at that point. And, you know, as I was saying, there were some agreements to recommend, there were some agreements in principle, but there were certain financial implications that had not been nailed down. And at some point, when those were nailed down and they had a meeting with the president, I would have expected that they call off the meeting within a week after that.
Well, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt. I would
sure.
say that this is a president that is not known to keep to his words. They wanted something in writing. That was the
Well,
argument
no,
of
but
ASU.
I don't agree with you that it's not a president who does not keep to his words. I mean, you have to give me the example in which he's not kept in his
We've
words.
been told Shopee
Uh-huh.
was going to alleviate, and we can't see anything.
Well, maybe over-promising. All politicians over-promise. That's not necessarily, it does not, you cannot alleviate poverty within a certain period just from one single intervention
And I know
program.
this is not going to be your
Yeah, yeah.
one thing you want to comment about.
Sure,
He's
sure.
a man who is said to promise one time, and he's denying he didn't promise one time. So it's not.
Well, yeah, but Obasanjo Obasanjo was like that. All in the United States, I've had politicians who say that they will not run, and at some point they will run. I think the issue is the following: that if a man has the right to run, he should be given the opportunity not to run, and not through some inner caucus of people. So okay, so that aside, that's a political issue.
Yeah, ASU didn't
Yeah. But ASU's problem was not confined to this particular government. It's been going on for a long time. So there's a systemic issue.
Professor Aluko, I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
And I won't tell you who my sources are.
Okay.
But quite a number of people among vice chancellors think you're too radical to be a vice chancellor.
No.
And someone made a comment to me that there was a time the Ministry of Education invited you to a meeting through text messages and gave you a very short time.
Sure.
And you just dismissed it because you wouldn't be part of the vice chancellors. You just felt it was improper to attend meetings based on short text message, that things should be done properly.
Well, I don't.
Do you want to confirm this?
Yeah. It wasn't. I mean, I've attended several meetings in which we have been invited by text message, and if I know the university is going to get money, I will attend. I won't mind. But if you call us to a meeting 1 week, and then on a Monday, then on a Friday, then on a Wednesday, you call us to a meeting. For me, that's much. For me to leave from here, I have to travel between here and Port Harcourt. Then I have to fly 45 minutes to Port Harcourt. It's actually 1 hour to get from the airport to the station, and then back. Okay, and it costs me every time I leave here. It costs me at least 120, 200,000 naira. It takes me 70,000 naira because I take economy flight. I'm entitled to business class, but I take it's 70,000 naira to fly from here to there and back. I have a per diem that I take, and all of those. So it costs a lot of money. So at this particular time, when we were sent SMS message, and sometimes there's no agenda. They just say we want to see the VCs and we want to see the pro-chancellors. So I just sent an email because when they send us a text message, there's also the same message sent by email to this our listserv. So I just wrote back to the group. I said, please, what is the agenda of this meeting? We have just left Abuja, and then I indicated all these costs that's associated with it. And remember, we do not have pro-chancellors. when pro-chancellors are invited, all these universities have to pay for the pro-chancellors. If you know the amount of money that is, that's a lot of money. So I wrote about that, and quite a number of them commended or, okay, but I mean, one or two said, well, it was not that person. Well, actually, I wrote to ask from the person who sent it what the agenda was, but he himself did not know. But I did not expect him to know.
So they just sit in Abuja and say, Vice Chancellors, come and...
No, there's a reason for it. It isn't as if there's no reason for it. Some of the time, quite frankly, I feel that we don't need to be there. I mean, if, for example, you want to give us a letter for to give us awards, you know, you just send it to us. But for me, it isn't that we shouldn't attend, but it should be spaced out. And because there are so many of us, the cost of it should be considered. In a situation to where many of us don't have a lot of... My overhead in this university is only 7 million naira per month. I'm saying only. 7 million is a lot of money to anybody. But to run a university is not a lot of money. And if I have to go to Abuja twice a month and I spend 300,000, 400,000 out of a 7 million naira budget that I have, and they say, you know, so sometimes they say it's mandatory. I mean, you've seen some of the adverts, mandatory to attend. Even if I don't attend, I may send somebody else, but that person will still have to pay the money to travel that I will have attended.
Before I go, because I see I have quite a number of political questions for you, but I want to talk about this university.
Sure.
And we've gone round.
Sure.
And we're going to be showing some of the clips to our viewers. Now, talk us through the projects you have in place now, the projects you hope to have in place in the nearest future, and what's the general hope and aspiration for this university?
Well, you know, I think of the university in several respects. I think of it in terms of the students, in terms of the staff, both academic and non-academic, in terms of the curriculum, in terms of the teaching and learning facilities, in terms of the living and recreational facilities, in terms of governance, in terms of the community relations, in terms of accreditation, and in terms of the posts, in terms of the graduation of the students. Let's talk about students. We had the pioneer students start their classes October of last year, okay? And but because of the floods, they didn't really start the exams until December. We have 282 pioneer students, 375 second-year students. So we have roughly 650 students right now. We'll be bringing in another 300, 400. So in January, we'll have 1,000 students.
I've been critical of President Jonathan, especially in terms of development since 6 years. But coming to Offem-oke, it's like entirely different. It's like 6 years of a wonderful job done. How come it's not reflective in other parts of Nigeria? When you come into this town, you can feel the presence of a town that has got an important personality. You know, seriously, even your university is an example of it. I mean, we went through quite a number of buildings, and I'm thinking, this is just a few years ago. How come we could have such rapid development?
Look, first understand that he was deputy governor and deputy president and president.
And
so
acting
president. So he has been part of this town. This town has had a first or second citizen, first of a state and now of the nation, for almost 8 to 10 years. So don't think that what you see is just within the past 2-3 years of his time. That's number one. Number two, remember too that the Melford Okilo, who was governor of Rivers State, is from Ogbia local government, which is where Offem-oke is. So again, I mean, it may not have impacted on Offem-oke, but at least Offem-oke is part of Ogbia local government. You also, when you were going around, you heard that Oloibiri is in Ogbia local government. So there's some poetic justice in the fact that at least the first president from the Niger Delta of Nigeria comes from the local government in which the oil in which this country is, I mean, which is a big earner for the country.
Do you also take advantage of that as the president's vice chancellor, as some people call you? I mean, if you want, I'm sure if you want something, you come first among equal in the
No, I mean, because we are 9 universities that were set up, I have not tried, I'm sensitive enough not to try to do any one-upmanship with my other VCs. We are a very collegial group. In fact, anytime the NUC secretary sees us say, these guys have formed a new union of, and I know Aluko, you are the chairman or something, or secretary. No, but there are advantages. For example, I showed you the, I showed you the sand dump.
Sand dump. Yeah.
Okay, it was ecological fund dump, and we've needed sand a lot in the university. It's a major issue. And the community, I showed you all the buildings built by the community. Clearly, they raised the fund. If their son was not president of the country, they would not have been able to raise enough funds to build all of those. The other issue is the fact that people feel wrongly that, well, you know, he has his hands in the university, so therefore they do not trouble me too much in terms of, but yet he himself, he's so passionate about university education, and anytime and he loves his hometown. So any opportunity for him to come, he comes to his hometown. I try to see him. We discuss about the progress of the university. He makes a lot. You know, he's also worked at the university before, so he makes a lot of suggestions. And so I've enjoyed working with him. Yeah.
That brings it to my mind.
Yeah.
You actually exposed me to another side of President Jonathan.
Yeah.
You know, you might not know it. When we were inspecting the female hostel,
Yeah.
and you were talking about the toilet, I don't know if I got you wrong.
Yeah.
You said the president made suggestions about the toilet.
Oh yes, He's very, very passionate about the comfort of students. You know, and anytime he comes, you know, he's always talking about how are we ensuring that the students have a place to stay. That was also why he did this 1.2 billion naira presidential intervention of the 2 hostels that I showed you are coming up. When we've gone to if the female hostel that I showed to you, that's the rented one. Yeah. It was he who actually indicated to the owner of the place that, look, you better, I don't think they should continue to rent this place unless you build this outer toilet. And you saw how they were, 10 stalls. You could almost eat in the place, right? Yeah, 10 stalls on the left-hand side, 10 stalls on the right-hand side. When we went to the skills center, I showed you also the skills center. The toilets are inbuilt, they're all ensuite. But he also had the feeling that, look, because of the water situation in the country and in the state, it's better for us to have external toilets, communal toilets, so that if there's something wrong, it can be easily resolved. So he's passionate about the comfort of students.
Are you not worried though that now there seems to be a lot of things going on for Offem-oke as a town?
Yeah.
Are you not worried though that, say for example, it doesn't come back in 2015?
Yeah.
Then that is it.
No, I'm not worried. I mean, first, I know that I want to take good advantage of the fact that he's here, to get as much advantage as I can without being morbid about it. I know that he's getting some traction because he's president. That's just the nature of politics. Yeah. If you are president, there will be certain things that you can command. If you are not, there will still be certain things. So I'm trying as much as possible to do certain things very quickly. But I will, even when I stop being Vice Chancellor of this university, God given me breath, I will continue to be interested in the progress of the university. We have set up a company, a full corporation, in which will be the trading business of the university. I'm going after a marginal field. We want to, this marginal round, we're trying to be sure that we work with some people to see whether we can get a marginal field for the university, both as an investment for the university as well as a laboratory for the university. So the number, I still have 2 more years. I mean, we are 5 years, February 16, 2011 to February 16, 2016. That is our term. So I still have 2 more years to do what it is that I need to do.
You're an Ekiti man in Bayelsa, in Offem-oke.
Yeah.
Can you put us through the thinking of the average Offem-oke person? What's the difference? What's unique about them? How do you feel welcome?
Oh yes, very much so. First, there's an organic relationship between Bayelsa and Ekiti State. Bayelsa and Ekiti State were formed same day, same year under Abacha. The first governor of Bayelsa was an Ekiti man, you know. So there's a very welcoming group of people, you know, in the state because of their son. Very proud of their son. He, as I said, he's the #1 citizen of the town, and he loves his hometown. You know, when he comes here, and he's always very, as often as he can. I mean, you know, anytime there's an opportunity, he comes here. Yeah.
It's quite. On a final note, I'll just speak about politics now.
Yeah.
What is your hope for Nigeria in 2015? I mean, we don't seem to get it right with what happened in the last election in Anambra State.
Yeah.
Do you think there's hope in 2015?
Well, I mean, hopelessness is not an option, okay? And predictions about Nigeria, dire predictions about Nigeria, always seem to fail. You know, we have some level of robustness about the country, but yeah, I'm concerned about 2015. There's no doubt about that. There is a lot of polarization in the country. A situation where somebody may not be able to campaign in the northeast, for example, and some other people may not be able to campaign in the south, for example. It's not a good one. Any threats that if somebody does not win, then there'll be chaos. It's not a right attitude to politics. I think that let the democratic space be open. The constitution of the land allows the president to run. He's a member of a PDP. There are other parties that we are almost going to a 2 or 3 party situation. I'm happy that that is evolving. That is what all happens in other democracies. Let us go through the process. But the INEC is important. If we do not get the electoral process right, that you get it right does not mean that the democracy will work. But if you don't get it right, it certainly will not work. And, you know, I've written a lot about the electoral democracy, the electoral process. The registration process is critical. And the registration process must be so critical that the parties themselves must consider it critical. The deadline set by INEC for the verification, for the registration, for the verification of the registered voters must be gotten right so that everybody knows for sure that 2 weeks to the election, I am on the voters register and this is where I'm going to vote. This is the station in which I'm going to vote. And if I do not know that, there should be somewhere where we can do before election day. That's number one. Number two, this issue of the ballot paper. There should be some copy of the ballot paper before election day so that political parties can use it to educate their citizens. and then on election day, or we're beginning to have, election day is beginning to be very good in the sense that people, if you do this open ballot process, you know, or what is it, modified open ballot system, you allow people to stick around, you allow the election to be announced on the spot, and if there's any violence in any place, you cancel it. I think that will work. Then the issue of substantial compliance has to be revisited.
Professor Mobolaji Aluko, it's good to be in Offem-oke and to see you here. Hopefully, you're going to be here for another 10, 15 years. And,
I will continue to be involved in for as long as the university allows me to, even beyond the VC-ship.
Thank you very much.
To be my second home.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.